Hello, dear friends. Very often, when I do reviews of various food products, there are nagging remarks in the comments. Someone writes that the things I talk about are supposedly available only to the rich. And if I describe something quite affordable, there is another comment. They say that if it is inexpensive, it means that the quality is corresponding. And in general, try to find something really good today. The grass used to be greener, and the food more natural. The old song. Today we are going to talk about oatmeal. Some may think, well, what's new here? Oatmeal is already known to everyone as a healthy food. Well, then I will ask you a question. What exactly is useful in it? Do you know exactly why it is so valued? I'm pretty sure you didn't know even a tenth of what I'm going to tell you today. And that's why I strongly recommend that oatmeal, whole oats, should be on your table at least once a day. Let's start with the fact that oats contain about 17% protein. This is not just some data from the ceiling. I refer to scientific sources, links to which I will definitely provide. But the main thing is not even in the quantity, but in the quality of this protein. It is determined by its amino acid composition. And this is where oatmeal shows itself at its best. Its proteins contain all 9 essential amino acids, which our body itself cannot produce. These are valine, leucine, isoleucine, so-called branch-chain amino acids, as well as methionine, lysine, tryptophan, histidine, threonine, and phenylalanine. Moreover, the content of these amino acids in oatmeal is so high that a person with the usual daily requirement of 2,000 kilocalories can get about half of his daily norm of essential amino acids from only 100 grams of oatmeal in dry form. And if you cook porridge from 200 grams of grain, you will get almost 100% of the norm. Naturally, if you have increased physical activity and use more energy, you should increase the consumption. Therefore, the common opinion that vegetable protein is supposedly inferior is, to put it mildly, not quite fair. I'm not advocating complete vegetarianism, but objectively speaking, the protein in oatmeal is of high quality. Now let's move on to carbohydrates. Yes, oatmeal is rich in them. About 66% of the dry mass are carbohydrates. But the most important point is that oat grains, especially whole or roughly chopped, do not cause sharp spikes in blood sugar. And, accordingly, do not lead to a sharp release of insulin. This means they have a low glycemic index. A completely different matter is instant cereal. The more processed the oats are, the higher the glycemic index. Yes, even such cereals retain the same amino acids and trace elements, but because of the degree of processing, they can raise sugar levels more strongly, and this is already undesirable, especially for people with diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and other metabolic disorders. And now we move on to the main value of oatmeal: fiber. In 100 grams of oatmeal, contains about 10 to 11% of fiber. And it is not just fiber. A significant part of it is represented by beta-glucans, special types of soluble and fermentable fiber. It is important to understand that not all fiber is equally beneficial. Some types, such as cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, are insoluble and non-fermentable fiber. It has a ballast function and, for example, helps with constipation. That's why it's used in bran. But it does not feed the intestinal microflora. But soluble and fermentable fiber, just to which oat beta-glucans belong, is food for our beneficial microflora. It turns into a gel-like substance in the intestines, improves peristalsis, normalizes stools, and most importantly, supports the health of intestinal microflora, which, in turn, plays a huge role in immunity and overall health of the body. These beneficial bacteria, feeding on beta-glucans, produce short-chain fatty acids. They stimulate the immune system, reduce anxiety and depression, improve metabolism, lower sugar and insulin levels, reduce bad cholesterol, and have a beneficial effect on the nervous system. And this may not be the entire list of their positive effects. In addition, beta-glucans have direct health benefits. For example, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has officially recommended consuming 3 grams of beta-glucans per day to prevent cardiovascular disease. How do they work? Beta-glucans bind bile acids and cholesterol in the intestines, preventing them from being absorbed back. This lowers blood cholesterol levels. They lower glucose and insulin levels. They stimulate the immune system, especially important components such as natural killer cells, NK cells. These cells help the body fight viruses and even destroy atypical precancerous cells. Cytotoxic lymphocytes, CD8 plus T cells, which protect us from viruses and tumor processes, are also activated. In addition, beta-glucans have an anti-angiogenic effect. They reduce the risk of tumor-feeding blood vessels and, research shows, may reduce the incidence of colon cancer. And that's not all. Most importantly, oatmeal is the best source of beta-glucans of all known cereals. So if you care about your health, choose it. Oatmeal also contains zinc and iron, albeit in moderate amounts. About a quarter of the daily norm of these elements is contained in 100 grams of dry grains. Yes, there is an opinion that phytates, salts of phytic acid, contained in cereals, interfere with the assimilation of these minerals. But not everything is so terrible. Part of iron and zinc is still absorbed, and there is no reason to demonize phytates. Which oat products to choose? The healthiest are the least processed ones. In first place are whole oat grains, which need to be cooked for a long time. Next, chopped oats, which are easier to prepare. Then, rolled oatmeal or oat flakes. And finally, instant cereal, which is convenient but less healthy due to the high degree of processing. And finally, I want to answer possible objections. Some people will say, oatmeal doesn't suit me. It gives me bloating. Friends, if you have bloating on the background of oatmeal, this is just an indicator that the intestinal microflora is working. This is a temporary effect, a byproduct of its activity. You just need to start with small portions and gradually accustom the body. For centuries, people have been eating rough, little processed food, which was given by nature. They did not choose whether they liked or disliked it. The choice was simple: either you eat what you have or starve. And they were, by the way, often stronger and healthier than we are. So, accustom yourself to oatmeal, and your body, your health, and even your mood will thank you for it. Thank you for your attention, and good health to you.